Hi, my name is Mike, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the tools that I use to do software development. Now, I'm an app developer. I develop iOS and macOS apps for a living, and I've been doing this for the last 15 years or so. Now, over that 15 years time, I take an approach where I use both a desktop Mac and a laptop. And since I'm here in my office 99% of the time, I usually spend most of my money on a fast desktop Mac. And usually this would be the Power Mac G5 when that was the biggest thing out, and then later on I moved on to the Mac Pros. And then for a laptop, when I'm actually away from my desk, a lot of times I don't need to do a lot of development if I'm traveling to a conference or something, but I need to have something with me because as an independent developer, if I get a support request or something breaks while I'm out of the office, I really need to be able to fix it. And so in that kind of situation, I would usually take a small laptop like a MacBook Air, a 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now, this was working great. I would actually stagger buying them, and so I would buy a desktop Mac every 4 years or so and a laptop every 4 years. And every 2 years I would have a new computer, and it worked out pretty well. That was until the 2013 Mac Pro, which I love and was a great tool for me for the longest time. But around 2017, it was 4 years old, and I was looking for something faster. And Apple came out with this announcement saying that nothing was ready yet and it was going to be a couple of years. So that was when I first was looking at it and be like, this is not going to work. Something's going to have to change. I went for an extra year and went to the end of 2018, still no Mac Pro. But the 2018 Mac Mini came out, and that was a fast machine. They gave me about a 40% speed bump over the 2013 Mac Pro. I have a video here. I'll link to if you want to watch that video talking about that Mac Mini. That was a great tool because it basically allowed me to move to something better, but at the same time, it wasn't a huge investment. Where it would hold me off until I was ready to buy the next Mac Pro that came out. Fast forward another year, and it's getting to the point where my 2016 laptop, which was a 13-inch MacBook Pro, it only had a 2-core chip in it, and it was starting to really feel slow. I was trying to build the project I was working on at the time, and the build would take between 7 and 8 minutes. And so it was something, and it got to the point where I was starting to travel more, and I needed something that I could use while I was away from my desk, and that laptop just wasn't cutting it. By this point, though, the Mac Pro had been announced. We didn't have pricing or anything else, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to wait till the end of the year when the 2019 Mac Pro comes out and see what happens. So Apple announced it. They put the configurator up. I plugged in the configuration that I wanted, and it came out just over 10 grand. And I thought to myself, this might not be the best way forward. First of all, I was getting to the point where I felt like I needed a faster laptop while I was away from my desk. And so when you combine the fact that you're dropping 10 grand on a desktop Mac and add in the cost for that laptop, and that becomes pretty expensive over the course if you're replacing every 4 years. Now, the Mac Pro is definitely fast enough. I probably could stretch it to, if I use it for 6 years instead of 4, and that would definitely improve things. Or I could go for the slightly cheaper iMac Pro, or even a 10-core regular iMac now that just came out is appealing, but it doesn't seem like I've never had any kind of appeal to the regular iMac. It just isn't a machine that I care to have on my desk. So I decided that something had to change, and what I decided on was that I could actually go for a really high-end laptop and buy a new one every 2 or 3 years, and still be saving a boatload of money from getting a Mac Pro. Furthermore, even though the first MacBook Pro that I bought at the same, if it was current to the time that Mac Pro was revised, that would be nowhere near the speed. But after a few years of technology advancing to the point that the second MacBook Pro that I buy would probably be comparable in speed to the Mac Pro, or even faster than the Mac Pro that would be 3 years old at that point. So I decided let's give this a shot. And at the same time, this was when the 16-inch MacBook Pro came out and had an 8-core CPU and a bunch of other stuff. So and faster graphics. So I bought one. I went out and I decked one out with the top end Core i9 with 8-core, the 2.4 gigahertz model. I got the 5500M GPU with 8 gigs of memory, and 32 gigs of RAM and a 2 terabyte disk. And so far, this machine has been great. It's done everything I wanted to do. It's a good 25% faster than the previous Mac Mini that I was using, and it just blows the previous Mac Pro completely out of the water. So this has actually worked really well for me. Now, there's a couple other things that made this actually work out well. One is that when the 2013 Mac Pro came out, it got rid of a lot of the internal expandability that the previous Mac Pro and the now current Mac Pro both have. And I miss that. I would rather have everything in the one case, and in that situation, this is a compromise. But when the 2013 Mac Pro came out and I had to buy all these peripherals, that work was already done. I already owned the hardware. So I have a Pegasus, which is a Thunderbolt RAID drive, and I have 4 2 terabyte SSDs in there and a RAID 5. And so that gives me 6 terabytes of fast storage to use, and it's external, not internal, but I have the device and it works great. I also went out and purchased a Sonnet. It's an Echo Express SE3, and that is a device. It's a box with 3 PCI Express slots in it, and right now I just have a 10 gigabit NIC in there. But later on, I can throw a PCI card with an NVMe interface or something, and use it, or video capture card or anything else like that. And it gives me that extra expandability that I wouldn't ordinarily have that comes with the Mac Pro, of course. I also have this, it's a CalDigit, and it's a Thunder Pro dock, Thunder Pro 3. And so that gives me all the expandability that I want to have because the laptop only has USB-C ports. And so I just plug in one wire, everything's connected, including the monitor. Has monitor port, has SD card slots, so then when I dump video, it's there. It has all the USB slots that I would ever need, and yeah, it's a great box to have on my desk. It's really convenient. So overall, this is a really good setup. I think it's going to work out well for me. The big advantage to switching from a two computer setup to a single computer setup is that I no longer have to worry about file synchronization. Before, I would use either Dropbox or Resilio Sync or the Synology drive. And I would try all these things, and honestly, Resilio Sync is probably the best one that I got to work with me, because it syncs everything between my desktop, my laptop, and the NAS I have here, and that works really well. But it was something that was always running in the background on the computers, and especially on the laptop when you were on battery, if you were in the process of going through and scanning the disk for syncing and so forth, it wasn't ideal. It was always a load on every computer. And so it's nice not having to worry about that anymore. I have a 2 terabyte disk in the Mac, which obviously doesn't have all of my data on it, but it has all my current data on it. And so I can have that with me wherever I go. While I'm at my office, I plug in one cable and it connects all my peripherals. Everything works really well. And I have a bookmark stand just to set it on, and that works nice as well. So So those are the benefits. The drawbacks is that I am missing out on some performance not having a desktop Mac. Laptops just aren't as quick as desktops, even when you're looking at the highest end MacBook Pro you can get right now. The current iMac 10 core would probably give me, I don't know, maybe a 25 to 50% speed bump on this, which would be significant. But that's something that I can give up, or I'm able to give up for the time being, because this is quick enough. And I think that, again, over time, if I'm able to buy a high-end laptop and just do that every few years, then I'm going to continually get faster machines, and that part's going to work out well for me. So anyway, I just wanted to post this video to kind of share my setup and what I use for software development, as well as for system administration for the servers that I run for the apps that I create. So thank you for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next one.